Welcome to Backstreet Gossip, news talk, current events, and political commentary with your host, Uncle Ronnie. And now here's your host, Uncle Ronnie.
Well, welcome back to Backstreet Gossip, and we have one of our favorite attorneys in the whole wide world, Alex Kolodin.
I know, and that's saying a lot.
and
Our favorite?
This guy is everywhere, all at once. I mean, I've never seen a guy that's had so many gigs with politics, and he bounces with big names.
He
Sidney
does.
Powell, my God.
I know, but you know what? Even more important, how was your short game with your dad?
Pretty good, but he still beat me. So
Did he beat you?
Not good enough, yeah.
Here, we're gonna move this over just a little bit here.
Yeah.
No, I saw that. I saw you posted that, and I said, you know what? Good for you. You know, he's the hardest working guy. He's always out there. He's always doing the will and really supporting the people out there. Always. I'm glad you take a little bit of time for yourself.
Well, you know, the thing that when I called him the other day, he says, "Well, I'm out here and we're just getting ready to, hit the green there." I said, "You waited for the hottest day of the year to go golfing."
Well, so far.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I've always thought he was a bright guy.
It's
but
a
when you
dry
go out
heat.
when it's
a
100
dry
plus
heat.
degrees.
I'm in Arizona at 100. What is this? It's nothing to me.
That's like a nice
just a
day.
spring day.
That's
Yeah,
right.
spring.
That's right. It is spring.
Well, you have been all around. I mean, I don't think there's any singular person that has as much experience in this process as you have. You've got on it before the election. You were one of the biggest nemesis of Mr. Fontes. You were always jumping all over him, and you even won some cases in the Arizona Supreme Court. Tell us what this man has done, and to create. And I think he's been a great deal of a creator of some of the problems we have today.
Well, what he has done is dispense with the notion. He was the first person at the county to dispense with the notion that the law matters, right? That's why he would do things like print illegal ballots, do things like change the instructions unilaterally, and barely even tried to defend the legality of these things and just said, well, I think it's a good idea when he was questioned on the law. And unfortunately, it seems that attitude has trickled down into the rest of the Board of Supervisors. And here we are with them telling the Senate to go pound salt when they issue a subpoena, saying we're not going to answer your questions, and just being utterly defiant of the law and the people's representatives.
Now, I'm very much a layperson when it comes to law, although I love the law. So here they go to court. The judge says, yes, the subpoena is in order. Yes, you have to abide by it. It's listed down that they need to give all electronic devices. And now they're saying, well, that's really not what the judge meant. We really don't have to do what the court order already does. We're going to go through this exercise again. I'm not getting it. Can you let me know what's going on there?
They think they can get away with it. That's all. They think they can get away with it because, as you recall, when we talked about this when the court order came out, the court order said, I'm going to make this order. I'm going to tell you what you have to do, but the judicial branch is not going to enforce it. It's up to the Senate to enforce it.
So we're in a position right now, because I know there's a big meeting, and President Fan is going to be there tomorrow. They're hopefully expecting some people to come. But if not, the court has already said you need to take your own action. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they said that very directly. And as long as Paul Boyer's a senator, my money's not on the Senate being able to enforce its subpoena on its own. So,
Well, we had Anthony Kern here.
One of my favorites.
I think it was last Wednesday, and
Yeah.
he had announced that he is running against Boyer in the next election for the Senate seat.
I saw that. When I saw that Facebook announcement go up, my heart got so happy.
Well, so really, at this point, there's one senator standing in the way from President Fan saying, I want the Sergeant of Arms, is that what it is? To go out and physically take custody of these Board of Supervisors and put them in jail.
One senator.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you believe, or through the grapevine, you believe that he still will not stand behind it? Because we heard something, Ron, I think you were there as well. We heard that he regretted that he didn't do it last time. You remember? I forget who told us that.
Well, I've known him for a long time as well, and he has an interesting philosophical belief. First of all, I want you all to know that he started out as a young person as a page or an assistant in the Arizona legislature. And so he's been, even though he's been in there a short time, both as a representative and a senator, probably 8 years max, he has been there probably for 12, 14 years, much of that time under the leadership of goodness knows who. I don't know if he was partisan, so he could have gotten both sides of the leadership coin when he was there working as a page. As you know, he has come up to the point where he keeps saying, I think reasonable minds can work this out. They cannot. There are no reasonable minds anymore. Everybody is partisan. I think we'll all agree. I mean, you're either for or against it. That's it. There's nobody in the middle that says, can't we all get along? The Rodney King concept.
No.
That's gone. And he needs to, and he did say that he was sorry that he had gotten involved in trying to make things move forward, that the whole thing is a sham. And that's a word that my good friend here, Alexander, kind of coined, the word sham
audits. Yeah, there were indeed sham audits, but it was the two that the county conducted, not this one.
And let's talk about that for a minute, if we could, Ray, before your next question. We know that the passwords for all of the things that they're looking for now are not under the control of the Board of Supervisors, which is very strange. It's their equipment that was purchased by the county, but they don't have the passwords to operate the equipment. What does that tell you, Alex?
It tells me that they're not in total control of our elections.
And who is?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, I believe that Dominion has the passwords. So if that is true, then it's very concerning to see that sort of authority and that power delegated to a private entity instead of our elected representatives.
And especially a vendor.
Yes.
How is the vendor
paid vendor.
Yes,
paid vendor.
By the taxpayers of Maricopa County.
So now, from what I understand, their letter or their statement basically said, look, we provided the passwords for those other audits that were under the guise of this certified company or organization that does it. Because Cyber Ninjas and some of the other ones are not technically certified, we're not going to give them the same privilege as that.
You've touched on one of my major pet peeves. There is no such thing as a certified election auditor. Oh, I'd say a pound on the table again. I know I'm supposed to. It does not exist. I have spoken.
Neil, come over here and break his arm, will you?
From what I understand, and I really hate to use this word because it's used so much and it doesn't have any meaning. It is unprecedented what is happening now in our country with the elections. This has never come about.
No.
Nobody could have prepared for this. There couldn't have been a company standing in the wings waiting to do an audit like this because it's never been done before.
Correct.
So we are in uncharted territory. So for them to say we need somebody certified to do this, but yet it's never been done and never even thought about being done, is just ludicrous.
I have no idea how they get away with telling this lie over and over again until everybody thinks it's the truth, that the certification process exists. A commissioner on the EAC has told me that they don't certify auditors. I mean, I have this from the horse's mouth. It just doesn't.
And I don't think it was ever meant to be.
But where did this come from? Where did this so-called certification, Alex, where did this come from?
Okay. The EAC certifies labs as being able to examine a machine and make sure that it's running compliant EAC certified software. These labs are not certified to be able to detect problems with the system. They're not certified to be able to
talk into the mic.
They're not certified to be able to find problems with an election. All they are certified to do is say, hey, the machine is up to spec.
So in other words, they look at the machine, they say, yes, it is running according to how it was programmed, it turns on and off, it does what we tell it to do, this machine is perfect. It doesn't say whether it was programmed wrong, whether things were added or subtracted, whether there was a SIM card in it that sent out information via Wi-Fi. It doesn't say any of that. It just says, is it doing what it was designed and programmed to do?
That is what the EAC certifies a lab as being able to do, right? And it's the lab. It's not, hey, you go on site and you still are under this EAC certification. No, I mean, it's just the lab they're attached to, which to my knowledge they didn't bring these machines to. So it's a complete crock of you know what. I mean, just totally.
Right. Well, that's frustrating, that's for sure.
You know, if I could equate this, because of my background as an auditor and an accountant, a bookkeeper and an accountant both work with books and numbers. But a bookkeeper is not an accountant, and an accountant may be a bookkeeper, but they don't have to be. And certainly an auditor is not a bookkeeper, and seldom is it an auditor an accountant per se. You might have come through that regimen to get to a certification as an auditor, but that's not what you do.
Well, and it's not even an auditor certification; it's a lab certification.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so far removed.
So
what
what is the difference between a lab certification and audit? Is that what we just discussed? That a lab just says, hey, it's running efficiently, it's doing what it does. But an audit is completely different. It's going through.
Yeah, it's a totally different thing. It's like saying, you know, my wife's mom is a certified turf grass professional. And it's like taking a certified turf grass professional and saying, oh, she's certified to conduct a financial audit on a Big Four company. It's like, no, it's a totally different thing. One is grass and one is an audit. That's what it is, you know.
But they are certified.
Yeah, you know, it's a totally different.
So
my ex-wife was certified in a different way.
Yeah, certifiably nuts.
Yeah.
Certifiably. Now, I want to ask you this one question. We've never really got to it. We've talked about it many, many times. And that is, once again, Mr. Fontes did on his own, and you sued you. And it was probably about a year ago, as I recall, where Mr. Fontes decided to spend about $300,000 plus having ballots printed up.
Yeah.
And nobody had authorized those ballots, and I believe you got involved in that suit. Whatever happened to those ballots?
So that was Brnovich's suit. He filed one right before us. He got him enjoined.
Brnovich is the Arizona Attorney General.
Yeah. He got them enjoined from sending them out, but to my knowledge, we have no idea whatever actually happened to them.
So there was no enforcement to destroy the ballots, to take them under secure storage or anything like that. There was nothing. These ballots were printed, and then they're just floating around somewhere. We spent $300,000 of taxpayer dollars.
To my knowledge, that is correct. Now, there could be another situation pertaining, but if so, I've never heard of it. So.
Wow, amazing.
It's I'll tell you what. There's so much money that is being spent, and it's when we're paying for it as taxpayers, and it's just it should not be happening. There should be personal accountability for decisions that are made, even if you're an elected official. And if you made a mistake, we understand. If you did it without any authorization, like what he did, you got to pay for it.
One of my big pet peeves, and it may be yours, Alexander. I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but it really bothers me. We have and we have had some good leadership in the Maricopa County Attorney's Office over the years. Bill Montgomery, I thought, was very good in that role. And what we have now is these are people that are the people's attorneys, more or less. And now they're spending our money representing the bureaucracy, if you will, that is opposed to dealing properly with issues of the people. Did I say that right? Did you guys understand my point? We're spending taxpayers' money for lawyers to defend people that aren't looking out for the people's interest.
So our office had a little bit of fun with this. We actually filed public records requests to Maricopa County to find out what they were paying these outside counsel. It ends up being about between $450 and $500 an hour.
That's
that they're
about
spending.
what you make, right?
No, my rate is not that high, but then again, I'm funded by real people and real businesses and real donors and not the government. So
and not taxpayer money. That's
no, and it's crazy. I mean, why have a county attorney's office if you're going to farm out all of these cases to big firms? It doesn't make any sense to me. It's
So what's the justification if you do have county attorneys to defend certain things just like this? How are they authorized, and where's the money coming from, and who holds the purse strings for them to go to outside, out-of-state companies to defend them and not the county attorneys?
Oh, you're talking about when the Secretary Hobbs brought in Sussman Godfrey. Those guys are $1,500 an hour.
Yeah.
As far as so originally, the sort of rules
once again paid for by taxpayers.
Yeah, but how? Who holds the purse strings that allow
the
this
Board
type
of
of money?
Supervisors controls how it spends its budget. Of course, the legislature controls what they get for a budget. Hint, hint. So, look, originally outside counsel was for this situation, right? Let's say you've got the Board of Supervisors that has one position, and you've got the recorder that has an opposite position. Obviously, the county attorney's office can't represent both the recorder and the board because there's a conflict. So they're supposed to be able to go out and get outside counsel to deal with the conflict. To go from that to bringing in these hired guns from out of state to litigate constantly for years and years and years and spend millions of dollars is, to me, an unconscionable use of taxpayer money. It's crazy.
So if I got your hint correctly, the legislature holds the purse strings that would or would not allow a county to go beyond the means of their county attorneys and hire somebody from the outside. Does that include not only the counties, but the state Secretary of State? Is that them as well?
So remember, appropriations for all government functions come from the legislature. The legislature's one constitutional duty is to pass a budget. So the legislature decides how much money the county gets, total. The legislature decides how much money the Secretary Hobbs' office gets to perform its functions. And there's some rules, but for the most part, it's carte blanche. If the legislature wanted, it could say every dollar you spend on outside counsel is a dollar that shows us that we're paying you too much, and it's a dollar that you're not going to find in next year's budget. They could do that. They started doing that, the county would shut up real quick. Just like, you want an alternative to arresting the Board of Supervisors, Senator Boyer, say Maricopa County's non-public safety budget next year is going to be zeroed out. $0 for Maricopa County. And see how quickly they change their tune, because the state legislature has that power.
Wow. Well, I hope our senators and representatives are hearing that as well.
Well, until we, tonight's program has been really interesting. We talk about redistricting.
Right.
Now, that's going to be the big thing, because we cannot do that with a majority of one.
No.
And that's what we're running into right now when we have Boyer that's acting like a fool, not doing the right thing.
Well, where's the constituents? Where's the letters? Where's the phone calls?
Well,
where's the
I don't know.
pressure that is put on?
District 20.
He does serve the people. He doesn't serve himself.
There was a recall effort there. I don't know how that has gone. And the recalls are strange animals. A lot of people got excited about all this stuff, but in order for a recall to be successful, you have to focus all of your time on that. And I don't think that the people that were recalling him did that. They just said, oh, well, you can get the numbers, and, when you get a minute, go out and get some things. And we've had one of our people from here in the office that comes in occasionally, and she'd go door to door and get signatures. She might get 20. I don't know what she got. Do you know, Neil? But 20, 30 signatures. But, that many? 25? Okay, she got 25 signatures, which is nice. You have to knock at least on probably 50 doors to get 25 signatures to be people to say, yeah, I'm going to do this. But the bottom line, you've got to have everybody in the effort that do that, because it takes a lot of signatures to do that. And I think it failed on the part of the Board of Supervisors. I'm trying to get final, because I don't know what the dates were, but I think they passed the dates at least on Bill Gates. No relation to the affectionate Bill Gates that is getting a divorce and spending millions of dollars trying to get you to
Billions
take
of dollars.
billions of dollars trying to get you to take a shot and wear a mask. But these things take time, and they have to take an effort. And the LD 20, that's the Legislative District 20. They voted to censor the guy. Well, big deal. What does that mean? It's nothing. It's just a
That's
slap
why I'm
on the
saying.
hand.
That's
It
why I'm
means-
saying
it
the
means nothing.
constituents should make the call, send the letter, let them know. Listen, this is how we want you to vote. You're representing us. It's a representative republic.
it
Do
hasn't
what we
been-
ask you to
Well,
do.
But Ray, we have in hockey we have a penalty box where people that are naughty on the ice get to sit out part of the game. We don't have that in the political arena.
But what all of this does, and full disclosure, We the People AZ, which is doing the Boyer recalls, a client of mine. So obviously I'm biased because I'm biased towards my clients. But what all of this does is two things. It keeps up pressure on elected officials to get the audit completed, showing that there's an active recall effort. And it also poisons the ground for Boyer, right? If he was thinking about running again, the fact that there are activists going all around the community explaining why he's not fit to hold that office, the fact that the most active conservatives in the district are censoring him and telling their friends, because of course those PCs, they talk to lots and lots of people. That sort of thing makes it very, very difficult for him to run for re-election. So there is a use to it and there is a value to it.
Of course, the timeline on so many of these things is years.
Yeah.
In this case, we don't have an election for another 18, 17 months before you can actually get rid of Senator Boyer.
Well, Alex, you mentioned one of your clients, We the People AZ Alliance. Now, are they going to We the People USA Alliance, or are they staying AZ? Because I know that I know they started some charters in some other states as well. So they're doing really well on that.
Yeah, they're expanding the movement nationally. It's phenomenal to see. It's phenomenal to see all these homegrown Arizona political organizations, conservative political organizations, grow nationally.
I think people are just fed up here. They're like, you know what, you asked us to do this, we did this, and now you're telling us that we can't do it anymore, or that it's done right, or look the other way. We don't need you over here. Yeah, there may be a couple of discrepancies and consistencies, but hey, everything's good. And people just aren't buying it anymore.
Well, here's the thing that you have to understand. Not every state is like Arizona. And I've been told by some people fairly prominent in national politics that, there is no state that fought like Arizona did. Right, and because of that, a lot of stuff is starting here that's going to spread out to the nation because we are ground zero.
Well, it's interesting. If you go back, folks, to election night, you might recall that Fox News called the state of Arizona for Biden, and as tight as that margin was, with only, I believe it was 16% of the vote in.
Yeah, but it was within 30 minutes of the closing of the polls. I mean, that right there.
There weren't enough ballots in to know anything.
We all looked at each other. I don't know if you remember where you were, but we all looked at each other like, well, what the heck?
How could you do that?
There's no way. And they're like, we're taking, no, we're definitely calling it for Biden. We're like, no, there's no way. It's crazy.
That's nuts. I mean, and so many people saw that, which is why, once the audit is complete, it's not enough for the audit to be completed because regardless of what it says, it doesn't do anything. The conservatives have to take the energy that is generated if there's a bad result from the audit, and they have to use it to push really substantial election reform in this state. And I feel like if we don't do that, our vote's going to be suppressed. Our turnout's going to be suppressed. We're going to see a lot of conservatives, a lot of people who were one-off Trump voters who go, I'm not going to vote again because I don't feel that it's worth my time. And so we need to plant a big win on systemic election reform.
All right, so we know that the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors is refusing to give the state Senate the items that were already approved by the judge through the
That would be the routers and
right?
the passwords.
Everything. All right. So let's just play this out. So the meeting goes tomorrow. They say, no, we're not going to do it. Hypothetically, Boyer says, no, we're not going to arrest them. We're at a stalemate. right? So what are the legal options? Could an option be, and I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, could an option be the Senate deems that a complete audit could not be done, and so we are decertifying those electoral votes? We're just going to take them back.
So in order for that, one, I don't know that you can decertify after Congress accepts the electors. I think that ship may have sailed, but let's say hypothetically that they could, right? In order for the legislature to do that, the entire state legislature would have to vote to take back the power of certification from the Secretary of State and put it back in the legislature, which is, of course, where the framers vested it originally. Legislatures were always supposed to be the ones that certified election. And then if they did that, they would have the power over certification again. So it's a very unlikely chain of things to happen.
But there is a writ that we talked about here, and Josh Bernstein said
Of pro warrant.
Yeah.
pro warrento.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if they do say, look, we can't complete a full audit, but we have found that there is enough evidence in what we have gathered that this was I can't say the F word, but that this election should not have taken place the way it should have. So doesn't that deem it that the certification could not be correct? I mean, if it was a false certification, then it really wasn't supposed to go to Congress. It wasn't supposed to be accepted in the first place.
Well, right, but it's up to Congress to make that determination, and they have. I mean, that's sort of the.
But they didn't have the evidence
Of
when
course.
they said.
Well, they had some of it, but they didn't have all of it. I mean, you're right, and that's sort of the confinement that you always find yourself under in an elections case, especially with presidential elections, because the timelines for certification are set by the Constitution, right? And so as a result, you have so much less time to do all of this stuff, to develop evidence, to do anything else before it goes to Congress. And I'm scratching my head for months and months and months thinking about, what do you do given these firm constitutional constraints? I'm afraid I don't have a full answer. But I would say this is, if you were going to have enough states to decertify the election, assuming such a thing was possible, it couldn't just be Arizona, right? It would have to be Arizona and enough states.
No, yeah, you'd have to have about 3 or 4 states.
By the time you have all of that process complete, we're going to be closing in on the 2024 election anyway. And so our best focus is to use what we learned to fix the system and to make the Democrats look really bad in the midterms, really bad in 24.
Well,
So
I
how
think
would that
that's
writ
already,
work?
I think that's already in play. I think that the first 100 and some days of this administration have been a total and absolute disaster.
Yes.
And I think there's a lot of buyer's remorse out there, to be honest with you, especially the people on the East Coast that are sitting there out of gasoline in their cars and so forth.
Or the price
let's-
of gasoline.
Let's go there with your question and what Alex had said. I want to look at this a little, because I've had a few people get in touch with me today saying what's going to happen. The process of getting to the United States Supreme Court is a tedious one. It doesn't happen overnight. And a lot of lower courts have to look at things first, and then appellate courts, and so forth. And I agree with Alex that it probably would at least 2 years before.
But what if
it
it was?
even could
What
file with the
if, what if
Supreme
the
Court?
point was national security? If we knew that there was a breach that purposefully put the wrong person in that position, then it would be national security, and they would have to expedite it, wouldn't they?
So there is a mechanism for speedily getting rid of a president in that situation, but you're not going to like it because of course sitting president can't be recalled. Sitting president can be impeached, and so that means we have to control 2/3 of the Senate in order to impeach and remove, right? And that's where the national security argument would go. I mean, I think the writ of quo wantro. I'm sure I'm making a hash of my Latin. Our argument is a very interesting one because theoretically you are, at least in non-presidential contexts, and I don't know how much it carries over the presidential context, you are supposed to be able to remove an elected official who gained the office by fraudulent means, even if you find it out afterwards, right? That's supposed to be feasible. Of course, with the presidential stuff, there's unique considerations with respect to the electors and the acceptance by Congress. And as a practical matter, since the U.S. Supreme Court wasn't willing to hear any certification challenges to begin with, the possibilities of getting relief in that court are fairly limited. I mean, but I would love to be proven wrong. If there is a brilliant attorney out there who thinks they've got a strong quo rantro argument, please go file that case. I will be your biggest fan, because that would be phenomenal.
Now, Josh Bernstein said that there was one filed here in Arizona. Do you remember he
there
said
was.
This? Yeah. But that,
We
I guess
can
the
ask
judge,
Wednesday night
the
because
judge
he will
shut
be
that
back.
one down for
it
some reason.
got shut down. Yeah.
There's so many things here that I know. The main question that people are asking is, what if? And let's just say, what if the numbers? And I've heard numbers. I don't want to repeat them because I think they're outrageous. But the numbers. Let's assume that not only did President Trump carry the state, but carried it big. What process then do we have in Arizona to declare? I'll use the term, and I know it's not the proper term, mistrial. A
miselection.
A miselection. That, my gosh, instead of 10,000 votes that Biden won by, he lost by 150, 200,000 votes. I mean, something that is so spectacular that there was obviously a major difficulty in the counting of the ballots. What happens? Do we just say, well, tough luck? Or can we hold people criminally responsible? This is what I meant when I was talking to Justice Gould. Why do we have this dual standard? If that's the case, that's not a mistake. That's purposeful.
All right.
Well, now that I think is a much more interesting way to go, and something that's actually within the realm of feasibility, right? If we do find fraud, right? If we do find that,
Can't use that word.
yeah, I did. If
I know
we,
you did.
if
It'll be bleeped out.
We're off the air.
okay, well,
If you're still there.
They just shut it down.
shoot, if we do there for YouTube censors, if that's found, right? The next question will be, can we figure out who did it, right? Because in a law, right, and this is for civil fraud, but I imagine quite similar in the criminal context, to prove the F word, right, you have to prove who, what, where, when, why, and how. And if you don't have all of those elements, you don't have a case. So even if we know what, where, when, why, how, if we don't know who, we can't prosecute. So, or rather, the Attorney General's office can't prosecute. So the thing to do, if these errors are identified, is for the audit team and the legislature to really investigate. Okay, now we know what happened, but we got to figure out who it was.
Does it have to be a person? Can it be an organization?
Yes.
Can it be based on intent, that they intended to do this, that this was something that was orchestrated?
Yes. So an organization can be held criminally liable. That is allowed, right? But an organization is still a who. So you've got to figure that component out.
Ron, you got some names written down there, don't you?
Well, let me kind of change a little bit of a direction.
Because Ron doesn't want to get taken off YouTube.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm not going to use the F word. We're already off YouTube for putting any programming on, so from now on, thank you for this is a great segue. We're going to start putting things on Rumble, and that would be Hub Radio Rumble. And
Are you ready to rumble?
we're ready to rumble. And by the way, we want you to like this program. We got to get those numbers up for subscriptions. Push on that Hub Radio button, and believe it or not, somehow or other, that word subscribe magically appears, and punch it.
Well, when you push like, you subscribe as well.
Well,
Both
supposedly
the same.
I don't know anymore. Not after what we did
Well, you're still working on an 8088 computer, so.
Well, yeah, but the thing that I don't understand is some of these things why we would be taken off when I know you have said it several times on the air when we were doing the thing on COVID, that this is not that this is not set in concrete.
Alex, I always try to think of it from a legal aspect. We tell people, don't believe us. We're providing information for you. Do your own research. This is what we found out with the research that we got. Do your own research. Don't believe us. I think that's a pretty good way to address this, right? I mean, that's the disclosure. We're not telling you what to do. We're not telling you where to go. Here's what we found. Here's the places that we went. Search for yourself.
But it didn't matter. It didn't matter. They
But
took
isn't
it
that
down.
disclosure?
By the way, that is what I did file an appeal, and that's exactly what I said.
Did you list me down?
Yes,
Okay.
I did. As a matter of fact.
So at the risk of further jeopardizing your appeal, one
My appeal was lost. They didn't accept it.
Good. So I could say this.
What do you mean good?
Well, it means that I can say what I'm going to say without impunity. So I have become part of the core legal team for a national organization called the Guardian Defense Fund, and one of the things that Guardian is very focused on is combating tech company immunity to free speech suit, right? And treating them like a common carrier or monopolies, which they largely are. And we've just got Congressman Gosar behind us as a supporter and a client, which I'm very thrilled about because
Very good congressman.
Phenomenal. And here's the thing, right? Why are companies treated as monopolies, right? Because they get easements from the public to provide their service, right? There's only so many fiber optic cables that the city can lay under street, right? There's only so many, there's only so many parts of the spectrum to broadcast on, right? So they do these sorts of things as easements from the public, and as a consequence, the courts have in other contexts always required them to be treated as common carriers and be viewpoint neutral. But that is something that only apparently pertains when the shoe's on the other foot, when for many years we had to deal with the fairness doctrine in conservative talk radio.
Right.
But yet the tech companies don't seem to be touched by it. So this is something that if the conservative movement is going to continue to get our message across, it's going to need to be addressed sooner or later.
But we the people own the airwaves. I mean, they're our airwaves. We are giving them license. We are allowing them to be a corporate function through our governmental system, right? I mean, it all belongs to us.
Right.
Yes, and let me just kind of address this the way that I see it. If I were to talk to Alex on the phone, on my cell phone to his cell phone, the company has not. They might provide the service, but they're not providing the air that our conversation's going through. Now, if in fact we had a cable from my phone to his phone that was owned proprietarily by that company, then you say the conversation is in fact private because all the way through it's not public airwaves that are doing it. But if anything, and I don't care what it is, it's the common carrier for the message through the air that is owned by everybody.
Yeah, and look, in my ideal world, government would sell off the bandwidth. Government wouldn't help big tech companies lay these fiber optic cables, right? Government wouldn't be involved in it at all, and then they could say, we're truly private, right? And we can be viewpoint discriminatory, but we don't live in that world, and we need to start acting like it.
Right. But we still allow them to operate as a company, right? We the people through the government.
And therein lies the trouble. The music's playing, so we're not going to resolve this issue tonight. But maybe after the show we'll resolve it. No, I'm just kidding, folks. But at any rate, we appreciate you, Alex, for being here.
Yes,
he's
always a pleasure.
Absolutely, one of our best friends in this business because he's always on the front
and he always
line.
gets a round of applause.
He does.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me
he's
on.
always out there working hard, and he's always willing to share that with the public.
Yeah.
The secret is a lack of sleep.
Yeah. He does sleep once in a while, usually on the show. But
With my eyes open.
so we will see you Wednesday night on Fighting Back, and we hope to have Sheriff Joe Arpaio giving us his opinion of what's going on. So we'll see you again next Wednesday.
All right,
there
take
we
care.
go. The music started again. I thought it was over. Thanks for...